Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today. We have some exciting news. There's been news throughout the last few years about Northern Beef Packers, and we have something really stunning to share with you today. Before we begin, though, I would like to acknowledge certain guests we have in our group today. From Senator Johnson's office, I see Shannon Stroschein. From Senator John Thune's office, I see Judy Vakota. We also have members of our county commission with us today, Mike Weiss and Dwayne Sutton. And also from our city council, we have Lori Swanson and Clint Rux. I don't think I've overlooked anybody. And there's been a tremendous amount of work done to get us where we are today. And my hat's off to Richard Benda and Chris Harr for the tremendous amount of work that's been done. Much has been said about the new jobs being created in and around the Aberdeen area. We've been saying that there's 1,000+ jobs being created by year's end. You will learn more about one of the major projects that's giving rise to that. I might also add, as the year passes, we might look into the future, and there'll be over 1,400 new jobs created by the end of 2012. Again, Northern Beef Packers is a significant part of that. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today Mr. Rod Bowling, Senior Technology Partner with Agri-Food Solutions from Texas. And he will give you a very informative presentation about the economic impact of the Northern Beef Packer plant. The genesis of this analysis came with funding from the state of South Dakota in conjunction with the Aberdeen Development Corporation. So I'm proud to introduce to you at this time Mr. Rod Bowling.
These things are always aggravating because I can always be seen around them and not over. My dad was 6'4" and my mother was 5'2", and I got his weight and her height. This is a real exciting time. If you sat and listened to the news all the time, it's about the gloom and doom and the best days of America are behind us. And that's not right. So, the good news is here today is this plant creates $2.5 billion worth of value in the next 5 years. In the 5th year, and over the 5 years creates over $10 billion worth of value. I'm going to show you how you take the GDP, agricultural GDP of Brown County, which is a great county, by the way, at $248 million, and you explode that 4 times very quickly. It's not something that's easy to do. It takes a lot of work. And it's going to take a lot of help from the community of Aberdeen and the tri-state area to help add the infrastructure to this company. But it's very exciting, and I think there are many counties. If you decide you don't want it, you call me, and I've got places that I can park this in many places. It take about 10 minutes. So. Take longer than that to move the plant, probably. Okay? This is what the outside of the plant's going to look like. I think you need to go by and look. You're going to see a metamorphosis and see it really change. It has changed in the 3 years that I have watched it. Okay? If we look at just a thumbnail sketch, MVP is a limited partnership. It's led by general partner Song from Minnesota. It is the president and CEO of the company is Mr. David Palmer, the pretty good looking guy sitting in the back of the room. I've worked with Dave in several different occasions in the meat industry. The meat industry is a pretty small fraternity. And we all know each other very well. And I'm proud to say that I've worked with Dave and find him a valuable colleague. He's trustworthy, and I've known him to be a hard worker all of his life. And I think he'll do an excellent job in leading this venture in your community. So I'm say that without hesitation. MVP is a mid-sized regional packer. They don't kill 6,000 head a day. They kill 1,500 head a day, and they have not exploded the resources available in the community, either from a cattle standpoint or a labor supply standpoint. A 6,000 head a day plant, like some of the mega plants, would require 5,000 or 6,000 people. So that's not possible in Aberdeen. The plant is a one-shift facility. It will harvest between 400 and 500,000 head of cattle a year. Initially, it will employ 561 people. That will grow to about 660 people. We estimate a multiple of 8.5 in just Aberdeen, so that would get about 5,600 people indirectly employed in Aberdeen, and another 2,200 people from the agricultural community in the tri-state area. Total number of people, 8,300 people. 8,296, I think, is the number. MVP employees will receive a generous benefits package and a good living wage. The median income in MVP fits the median income in this area very well. In fact, it may lead it some. The plant will have a full value-added capability and export potential. That means that it's not dependent upon just the beef market. It's dependent upon the ground beef market, the export market. There are other markets. It will also give them the capability to value add the cattle in the region that you don't have today. You have a state-of-the-art food safety, product traceability, and environmental management have all been incorporated and built into the plants. Plants that were built in this country in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, as most of them were, don't have those capabilities because you can't add them to them. So this plant genuinely has food safety technology and traceability technology that other plants don't. It's a new plant, and we don't get many new plants in this industry. MVP will boost the Brown County GDP from $248 million to over $1 billion. Okay? Now then, if you look at this area, the tri-state region, the thing that should impress you in this is that this is an agricultural basin that is the envy of many countries in the world. Brown County has the capability of producing 21 to 22 million bushels of corn per year. That's all of the corn, all of the cattle, all the 500,000 cattle in this plant. That's all of the corn that they would require to eat. Of course, they're spread out. If you look at where the feedlots are, they're spread out through North Dakota, through Minnesota, and through South Dakota. The cattle in this plant would consume 6.9 billion pounds of grass. All beef is forage finished. So the beef that comes from this plant is going to consume lots of South Dakota grass, lots of North Dakota grass, and about 2 acres worth of corn and soybeans for each animal. Okay? Now then, what do we do? How do we measure the economic impact of cattle that are already here? Well, if you look at what the transportation, if it's not fed to the cattle here, it's transported out of the state, out of the region. Okay? Each bushel of corn that is produced in South Dakota, has a basis fee or a transportation cost to haul it out of the state of 70 cents a bushel. Used to, corn was only worth $2 a bushel. Now it's worth $6.50 to $7 a bushel. But transportation costs have been grossly exaggerated and grossly inflated as well. So each mile we pay $4.50 to $5 a mile to have the commodities hauled out. So for each head that we feed here, they consume 50 bushels of corn. That's $35 a head that stays here in this economy. We do the same thing for soybeans, for wheat, all the way, you get down here to the slaughter cattle, it's $50 a head. So that's what it costs, is $50 a head to haul one steer from here to Dakota City, or from here to Schuyler, Nebraska, which is the next alternative market. All of these figures, if you add them up, that's $266 a head, or times 463,000, the projected slaughter, that's $260 million, or $206 million a year that stays in South Dakota, that stays in Aberdeen. The value added, we're going to go through in greater detail, but that's $178 a head. A lot of that gets passed back to the genetics, back to the cattle feeder, because we have superior cattle to keep those cattle, to buy those cattle into the plant. The packer pays those feeders for those cattle, and the feeder has to pay the breeder. So that value-added money stays in South Dakota, or it stays in this region, in this tri-state region. Okay? Next slide. This is the plant, okay? And I'm not going to bore you with a real exhaustive tour of this, but the cattle come in here, the people come in the front. This is the slaughter area. This is the fabrication area, the ground beef area. The case-ready offal, the frozen offal is over here. The rendered product is here. The cattle are chilled in this portion of the plant. They're graded in this portion of the plant. We cut them into pieces in this portion of the plant down these long tables. That goes into box beef, and then it is stored over here in boxes, and it's shipped all over the world in vacuum packaged boxed beef. Each of those boxes will contain about 70 to 80 pounds of beef. It takes 7 or 8 boxes to completely package a beef. Okay? Next. You have plenty of cattle. This is the cattle population in South Dakota. With 1.6 million cattle born in the state every year, you think you have enough. Well, the problem that a packer has is we kill cattle 285 days a year, and it takes 1,500 every day we open the plant. So not all of them are the right age, and not all of them were born. We have too many born in one month and not enough born in another. So it takes a distribution across several states to make that work. And in this state, you have higher quality cattle. In Texas, where I'm from, we get a lot of cattle from Mexico. And those cattle are long on ear and not long on quality. So you have plenty of cattle in the state, and this plant will harvest at least a third of them. Okay? Next. The South Dakota Certified Program is unique from South Dakota standpoint. I wish we had one in every state in the Union. The South Dakota State Department of Agriculture has been very proactive and very forward-thinking in developing this program. It is a program that, to consumers, tells that consumer, this is where the ranch is, this is where the stocker, the feeder, the packer, and you can trace those cattle all the way back to a point of origin. Okay? Bigger plants can't do that. Why would that matter to a consumer? I'm not sure most consumers want to know the name of the steer that they killed or where it came from. I think they would like to know that we know where it came from. And that if we have a problem, we know where we go to fix it. I don't think most consumers are worried about fixing it, but they would like for us to know where it came from so we can fix it. And that's what this program enables. It enables a state-of-the-art food safety program that without the data, you just can't get there. So it becomes a brand, the heart of a beef brand, that should give you the confidence to feed your children beef from this plant. Because we know where it came from and we know how it was managed. Okay? Next. Okay, this is the grading tool that is done. I can sit in my office in College Station and watch the cattle grade when this happens. I can be in China and see the cattle grade. See cattle grade in China. We didn't have that years ago. So we can look and troubleshoot any problems. We have a video record of all of the cattle that we killed and all of the meat that we bought from a particular feedlot or a particular range. And the South Dakota Certified system is an enabler of that data. It takes this kind of investment from the plant to do that. But here are all of the other value-added opportunities. All plants have this, have a beef rendering system. Most of the really big ones have a beef camera system such as this. Few small or regional plants like this have it. Almost no plants have case-ready ground beef or case-ready offal, and none have a beef trim upgrade system that cleans the beef up before we make it into ground beef. We remove the fat before we grind it. Unique idea. Next. Okay? Let's talk about what's going to happen with the population. A lot of people that are going to come to Aberdeen to work in this plant are going to bring families with them. And if we look at the current numbers, there's about 4,800 school children, capacity for 4,800. The school system in our interviews tell us they've got room for another 650 more. Over the next 5 years, we think that's about 1,000 to 1,200 shy. Need more schools, okay? More kids. With growth comes people. Next. Okay, so we're going to see the current enrollment from 4,780 to expand to there. Another 1,000 to 1,200 students. We're going to see the Aberdeen housing market is tight. But guess what? People don't come and people don't build houses, don't build apartment complexes because they think they're going to rent the property or because the company says they're moving to town. They build houses based on people there to rent them or to sell them, to buy them. And that will happen here. Okay? I'll show you the housing market, what happens to it in a second. The roads, you're going to see an additional 85 to 100 trucks come into Aberdeen each day. A lot of those are going to come at night. The cattle trucks mostly arrive early in the morning or in the middle of the night. Most of those cattle trucks will come from the west, south, and north, so they're not going to come down Highway 12. The cattle that come from the east will. So you'll see some congestion, but not 100 trucks. This does point to the fact that you need to spend some of the tax dollars we're going to talk about on a bypass to go from southeast or southwest corner of the city across south of the airport to hit 12 out here. Okay? Need to do that. Next. Okay? Now we're going to talk about economic impact. Okay? And I'm going to build this up fairly quickly. Okay? So bear with me if you have questions, ask. Okay, the freight number that we talked about, we've already talked about all those, that $206 million. Okay, now I'm building it into how that affects the economy in the region. Okay, so that $206 million is in here, but there is $825 million revenue from selling beef in year 5. Okay, that's beef, hides, ground beef, offal. So $825 million for 463,000 cattle. Okay, that comes to $1.2 billion in agricultural revenue. Okay, over the 5-year period, it's 4.4. Okay, next. Now then, we're going to talk about employment. Okay, in the agricultural supply chain that's out there, that's in the tri-state region, we're going to add 2,022 jobs. That's from increased cattle people, feedlot people, truck drivers, and have a lot of truck drivers based in this town because he's going to have a big fleet of trucks delivering meat. Okay? So, with the 660 direct jobs at a multiple of 8.5, that is conservative, that gives you 5,610 jobs. Here's the 2,022 from the agricultural supply chain. That's a total net jobs of 8,292. Now then, in the business that I do, I have to go through and justify, do I have more, do I have that many jobs? Where are they? When I went through and did the actual individual count, it came up to 8,900 jobs. And that goes back to the housing market that you don't have. That housing market is going to create in Aberdeen a boom of its own and a multiple of its own. So the addition of the plant is going to give you life, and then you get another growth spurt on top of that from housing. So there's a double shot, a double whammy there. So you're going to increase 8,200, 8,300 jobs at a time when the national unemployment is 10.2, South Dakota's 4.9, Brown County is 3, and Aberdeen is 3.9. You have this many, 3,355 unemployed or underemployed people in the county. So you're going to employ all of those people plus about 5,000 more. Okay? Now then, how did we come up with this? If you take the wage and benefits that Mr. Palmer has shared with me, and I take that $41,226, that is for a 40-hour week, times 52. So 2,080 hours of work plus benefits is that number. Okay? If I take a typical household budget in the United States and break it down, the housing number is 30%. Okay? So that's $12,300. Next slide. It's easier to see here. But if I come here, here's the same numbers that were there. Okay? Now I've just expanded it to the 8,296 people. Okay? So that $12,000 spread over all of those people in the next 5 years becomes $103 million a year in housing. In Aberdeen, the average house is $141,000. That's 736 houses, new houses in Aberdeen. Okay? People have to have a place to live. Okay? The median income in Aberdeen is not $41,000. It's in the $40,000 range. Low, but $40,000. So, these jobs are above the median income. These jobs are also conservative jobs because the supervision and the management are not included. Those numbers are above and beyond. That's how conservative this is. I didn't have to use them to do that. This is the hourly wage, people, folks. This is a strong plan. So look down here. Here's $58 million for transportation. That's 2,500 new cars a year. You want to be a car salesman? Here's food, restaurants, and at home, $48 million. Clothing and dry cleaning, $17 million. Healthcare, $17 million. I told you were going to have an additional 1,200 students. Here is $7,000 per student. That pays its own way. Okay, retail sales, charitable contributions. Look what happens to Social Security contributions, $26 million. Those are contributions that are going to leave, and you hope they come back someday so your people can retire here. You know, the thing that changes, that all of this changes, when you do the economic analysis of Brown County today, all of the arrows are leaving the state. The corn leaves, the cattle leave. Where do your kids go? Do they have enough jobs to stay here? I don't think so. Today they will. So those arrows get turned around and they stay here. And I think you should be very excited about that, and you're going to have to be supportive. Because Dave Palmer is not going to build houses. But he needs you to help provide a place for his people to live. Next. Oh, back up. He's pretty good. I didn't think he could back up, but for a lawyer, he's pretty sharp. One thing that you're going to need is you're going to need more entertainment. These people are going to come here, they're going to work hard. You don't have a place to spend $17 million on entertainment in this town. Most little agricultural communities don't. So there is another place that you need to grow. Now then, okay, in summary, and I haven't been told to quit, so I'm over my 10 minutes, but they didn't make me quit. All right, let me summarize this for you. And I've given you all of these numbers before. Here's the $1.2 billion. $250 million of it is already here. Now that's corn and all that. The plant in year 5, that $825 million gets up to over $900 million. Okay? So there that is. This is 2015. This is the 5-year forecast. The agricultural supply chain, this is trucks, tires, diesel, additional fertilizer, corn, herbicides, everything in the agricultural supply chain comes to $900 million. So the agricultural supply chain now becomes 2.1. That's 8 in 5 years. Then here's just the 660 people at MVP in year 5. 27.2 million in Aberdeen. Over the 5 years, 104 million. Okay?